Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we have Lisa O'Hare on board. Lisa has a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration from San Jose State University in California, where she lived until 2011. She worked for many years in law firms, starting as a Florida legal secretary and ending up in information technology, and went on to work for engineering companies in Silicon Valley and also in a Department of Defense company that had ties to Stanford Research Institute. She is now enjoying retirement. Since retiring, she discovered she was a psychic medium, and that knowledge was the catalyst for many discoveries about herself, one of which was that she was an ET abductee. After reading Terry Lovelace's book, Incident at Devil's Den, she wrote to Terry Lovelace, and he encouraged her to write her own book, detailing her ET experiences as an abductee. Her book's entitled Abducted and Furious: How I Fought Back and How You Can Too. Lisa now lives in Chandler, Arizona with her husband and two Maine Coon cats. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. So have your experiences started off, well, I know everything started for you like in 2017, but prior to that or during your childhood, did you have any events that pointed to you being an experiencer abductee?
No, I didn't. I just had strange experiences, which I couldn't label, I couldn't explain. I didn't talk to anyone about it because that was the 70s, and I actually didn't hear about ETs at all until I was living in Alabama. And I was scared when I found out that there was something up there.
Oh my God.
You know, so.
Okay, so what were those events in your childhood?
Well, when I was 10, I was living in a foreign country, and I kept having this daydream at night, and that's how I described it, because that's how, you think when you're 10 years old. And it kept coming along, and every night for a week it would show up, and then it came true. So I didn't really know what that was. And so after that, we moved to Alabama, and that just one time, so again, can't explain it, can't talk about it with anyone. I had these white circles that kind of look like glowing flashlights, except that they didn't put forth a light. They were just a glowing white circle. And they were moving around on my bed, and I started screaming, "Oh no," like as if I knew what it was, but I didn't have any recollection of knowing what that was. And so my dad, screamed, "Be quiet in there, go to sleep," So I didn't feel comfortable telling my mom and dad. And then nothing happened until I was 13, when I had a prophetic dream. And then when I was 16, the daydream came back, and I was 3 years into a high school that I liked. We moved every year or 2 years. And so my dad was not in the military. But so right before my senior year of high school, I started having this daydream that I'm going to move to another foreign country. And I start praying that that doesn't happen, because I was so close to graduating. Oh. And it happened. So I spent my senior year of high school in another foreign country. So, and then that was it. Then, I didn't have a lot of things going on until I was 28. So.
See, I guess your experiences are somewhat similar to mine. Well, growing up, at the age of 3, because I'm 4 years older than my brother, and he wasn't born yet. So I tell my parents that there were people in my room at night. So I can't recall seeing their faces, but I recall saying to my mom many times, "There's people in my room at night." And of course, she would put this down as fear of the dark, and whatnot.
Monsters.
Closet monster and whatnot. Yeah. But a lot of the times my mom would wake up at night realizing that I'm right beside her, watching her sleep. So I'm not sure if you would do that, but a researcher told me once that sometimes when the children when they're being brought back, they're in a state of fear, so they go see their parents sleep to sort of calm them down.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as my brother was born and I started grade school, everything stopped. But wow. Everything started off for me when I finished school, and I was around the age of 25, 26. So roughly about your age too.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. Well, now that you were telling me about that, watching your mom sleep, It's funny, when I lived in Alabama, people would want me to go over to their house and spend the night, and I was too scared to. And it's interesting. I bet it goes along with that, because I was just freaked out about leaving my parents and staying over at somebody else's house.
Oh,
So I could never do it. I would just get a feeling in the pit of my stomach, and it was just sheer fear. And I thought at first it was just anxiety, and I couldn't understand myself why I felt that way. But now I bet that's what it is.
yeah. My ex, when she was a kid, the British abductee, when the Greys would come and get her, she asked her grandfather to sew her top pajama to her lower part, thinking that would protect her belly from needles and stuff like that.
Wow.
So, how a kid works. Their mind is that, oh, I'll be protected, or sometimes she'd be her grandfather would put her like in a cocoon type of an envelope with her bed covers, thinking that would protect her. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, they didn't turn out well for her.
Yeah.
I hope she doesn't listen. She's gonna kill me. So what happened between those events and 2017?
Well, when I was 28, I was married to another person, and I would have these incidents where I would sit up screaming and only remember a black rectangle, and I wouldn't be awake. But my husband, when he crossed from the hallway into the bedroom, that's when I would sit up and start screaming. And he said I was screaming like I was being killed. And so, but I would never remember anything. And for a while, after I got a divorce, I went to therapy for a while, and we tried to address that, but she just didn't have whatever she needed, to deal with it. So I had to back burner it and not really focus on it. But I always wondered what that was.
Was it something you actually saw in your bedroom?
It was actually what I would remember from that situation. Okay. And so when I tried to recall the memory of a dream or whatever, that's what I would see as a black rectangle.
Yeah, so you saw something quite traumatic, and that brought on the episode. Okay.
Right, exactly. And then after I was divorced, and I was living in a house, I would find myself running down the hallway. I would wake up like sleepwalking. So, but I would be running down the hallway and like running from something, like I'd been dropped off and I was running down the hallway. I would also find myself like asleep, but I'd wake up and I'd be crouched next to the closet talking to it, talking to something black in there. And I also saw a lot of shadow people, but I didn't know what they were. I just thought they were these black things that didn't quite look like they had a head. They almost looked to me like it was a heart on the top. I don't know what that is.
How tall were they?
I'm 5'10", so I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't think that they were very tall. They were probably 5'7" or something. Okay. But they kind of looked hunched over, so it took me a really long time to figure out what they looked like, because all I could see was an outline.
Yeah, same for me.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Those watching, they probably know my story, but like we spoke a bit earlier, when the 5 shadow people in the bedroom, all I saw was I could see through them. They were blacker than the blackness in the bedroom, and they had, imagine looking at the silhouette of a very broad football player.
Okay.
Huge shoulders. And the blackness would come down to the bedroom to the floor, so like a huge black piece, and then you'd get the trapezoids, whatever, and then you'd have a huge round helmet under where the neck would be.
Oh, interesting, because I have seen something like that with the helmet, but the helmet was sort of like this. It like came over your nose. It looked like goggles, and the person underneath was black. It looked like a helmet with the goggles, and then the person underneath was black, pretty black too. So, but I haven't, like I said, for a long time, it was just really hard for me to determine what they actually look like, because I could just see them from far away. Also, when I was 33, I had cataract surgery. So I would have to look for my glasses or know where they fell if I knocked them off the side of the bed. So that probably contributed to me not being able to see exactly what was going on there. But yeah, I've seen it. I've seen those things. What are they for?
I thought it might have been my lab, but again, humans with these helmets, they were way too big. I thought it might have been like mantids, because mantids, I've seen pictures of mantids wearing capes, so it could have been the cape falling down to the floor.
Yeah.
So I would see the shadow of it, but
yeah, I've seen mantids too. One of the things I keep seeing them with brown capes on, like monks, actually.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
No, but a lot of the drawings, and even I think Simon Park's mantid drawing has someone with that type of robe on. So.
Oh, interesting.
Very
Yeah, I've seen him standing in a circle, like with 4 of them. I don't know what that's about. I have seen, besides the shadow people, I have seen like, it looks like a shadow on the wall, and it just they are wearing a cape, so but their head is not round, but like human shape. And then they have this big black cape on, and they've been like sitting on my wall facing my bed. And that's pretty recent though. So I haven't seen those weird heart-shaped ones lately, but recently I started seeing those. And so I didn't know what they were. I thought they were just there to scare me, because I found that a lot of these beings, they like live off the fear that they cause.
Yes. Okay.
So if you're afraid of them, then they might come back. They might enjoy your fear, your terror, your anguish. And I just got to the point eventually that I'm not afraid of them at all. So, and I even say, I'm not afraid of you, so you might as well leave. I mean, I'm not scared.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh. Thing is, with the shadow beings, at least I didn't have anything as a point of reference. All that I found on the net was these shadow people with like top hats.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I heard of that too.
So that really didn't help. So okay. So after that, are we up to the point where you think you're getting abducted?
No, that went on for a while, and everything seemed to quiet down, and then it wasn't until 2012, I started realizing that I started thinking to myself, what am I? What are these experiences called? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, psychic? I mean, this doesn't really fit into the whole psychic thing. And that's when I started getting messages from people who had passed over. And
So you saw ghosts?
I do see ghosts. And I do have ghosts or others, because I don't know what they are, come to me and ask me to get them to the light. So I do have that. But no, this was actually my grandmother, who's been gone for a really long time, came to me to tell me that it was her fault that my dad was the way he was. And I thought, no shit, yeah.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. But it turns out that I didn't realize this, but I was about to meet the wrath of my father, who I hadn't seen that guy in a long time. When we grew up, he was very volatile and easily angered. And so, but then once we all grew up and moved out of the house, he became this guy we didn't know, like this nice guy. And we're like, wow, this is really wild. Who is this guy? And so, but my mom was sick. She was in the, was ill. And so that other guy came back. And so what I didn't know was that I was going to go visit and then meet that guy again and have him get really mad at me.
Oh, no.
So it was funny. So she was trying to warn me, but I didn't realize that it was a warning. I just thought it was, normal. So that's when it really started happening. And I really didn't know what to do with it. And I, was told by my spirit guides to just, meditate and meditate and meditate and meditate. And in hindsight now, I think they were trying to prepare me and my vibration for knowing what was happening, because I really think that the your vibration has to be high enough for you to feel the negativity of the ETs. That's my theory. So I did meditate, and I kept saying, you know, I really want this to be over. I really want to know all this cool stuff. But it turned out it wasn't cool, but also I found out I thought it was, everyone else thinks it's really harsh and abrupt, but I'm direct and I appreciate directness. So my spirit guide, I said, what is that negative? What in the heck is that negative feeling I have in my room right now? And I said, it's really, really negative. It's really bad. And he said, oh, those are the ETs. Those are the grays. They're here to abduct you. They're here to take you. And he said, and you don't have children because they stole all your eggs. Yeah. So that's how I found out. And I was scared, you know, as you can imagine. And
so you never had like phantom pregnancies?
Well, no, but you know what? I had irregular periods, so it could be that it happened, but I just didn't know. And also during that period of time, I'd gotten a divorce, and you know, when I was fertile, I had gotten a divorce, and I also worked 2 jobs. So I just didn't have the energy or the capacity to, you know or care at that point. I just needed sleep. But I did notice that when there were nights that felt really long sometimes. So some nights where I had 4 hours to sleep, it would feel like I was asleep for 8 hours or 24 hours, or, you know, just to really link the time. So I did notice that, but, you know, I just didn't have the energy to deal with it.
Okay. Seems like, did you go through missing time?
No, I the only time, no, not for abduction, but I have had weird experiences where I have a clock that projects the digital numbers on the ceiling in red. And so there'll be times when I'll wake up, I wrote this in my book, at 3:84 a.m. Well, there's no such thing as 3:84. So I would see it, you know, a lot. And I would be thinking, what in the heck is that? I mean, you know, I didn't think to get up and get a camera and take a photo, but I had things like that. I'd go to sleep at 1:35 and I'd wake up, or 2 a.m. and I'd wake up at 1:35. Well, I'd gone to sleep at 2 a.m. So, so just stuff like that. But I do get taken out of sight of my car, which I find really annoying, because I drive a manual transmission. And so they'll just take me and I'll be gone for some length of time and then come back right when I was about to shift. And it's really scary. I had it happen to me when I was on the freeway. And a couple of times when I was just about to move forward, because the light changed before I left. And then when I got back, it hadn't changed yet. So just a couple of things like that.
Oh, that's dangerous.
It is. It's scary and dangerous and discourteous, because I always make sure I tell them how I feel when I come back.
See, I've got your book, and for those interested, right here. And so, like, I'm in 40% in right now, and you know, I started laughing, at least not you know, about the book, but a lot of what you went through was the same that I had to go through as an experiencer, at least. You start asking questions, and you do your best to understand what's going on. So like I was into, you know, meditation, crystals, saging, Reiki, pendulums and whatnot. So yeah, I guess I connected a bit with a lot of what you said in the beginning. And I think that a lot of us do go through the same stuff. Yeah. So for those watching, you should, you know, get a hold of the book and read it. Okay, so we discussed shadow beings. So let's get into the abduction. How did you know that you were being abducted? Like, did you feel see, you know, grays within, you know, your bedroom, or did you go through walls?
I wasn't sure, but what happened was I had 2 encounters with actually mantis beings. So one was I had cut my knee on on a recycle bin. We have tall ones here. I backed up and then it fell on me. But anyway, so I cut my knee, and I was, in bed, and all of a sudden my leg, which was fine a few minutes ago, started throbbing. And it was really, really strange. And I thought, this is really weird. What the heck's wrong with my knee? And all of a sudden, I saw beside my bed, about 7 foot tall mantis that was greenish. And she had a kind of a motherly presence, started saying, my name is Moma, and I really want you to come to my ship so I can fix your leg. Wow. And I thought, well, I'm not getting on a ship. I'm not saying yes to getting on a ship. I mean, that just seems crazy. So she just kept trying and trying and trying to get me to agree to go on a ship, And she said, well, what if some bad guys come and get you? Then can I take you? And I think begrudgingly, I go, well, all right, But that's what happened with that. With another guy, this one seemed male. So, it's really hard because you're in that situation and you have, these feelings. I mean, I didn't even have paralysis, but what I had was like extreme fascination with what I was seeing. Because of all of the different beings, I never expected to see a praying mantis next to my bed. So people are saying that they feel extremely paralyzed. They can't move or anything. I wasn't like that. I was just could not tear my eyes away from her. It was just,
you're in awe.
Like if I did, she would disappear, And so I just could not stop staring at her. But the second time this happened was, and of course, after seeing her, then I immediately fell asleep, like you said, blacked out. Because that's what happens, people think that you have some length of time before you get knocked out. You don't. You just get knocked out. And sometimes you're mid-thought. So, I mean, I don't know if that's happened to you, but I'll be thinking about something, I'm gone. And then I wake up 2 hours later. Mm-hmm. It's like, what the heck? Mm-hmm. The second one I saw, which really made me a believer, I'll tell you, was a seemingly male praying mantis. He strode into my room from somewhere, because I probably had my eyes closed at some point. And he hit me with something right on my lady parts. He smacked me like using a spoon or a tuning fork, and it really hurt. And then he pointed at me, and then I fell asleep. So those are my two exciting experiences.
So all the mantids were wearing robes?
No, those were other people. Okay. Or other mantis, but okay. No, these were just naked. Oh. Yeah, I think that the guy seemed to be wearing some sort of like, not robe, but kind of like a long sweater, like a long sleeve sweater or something that I recall. And the female one wasn't wearing any clothes, but she was talking to me telepathically. So you felt their energy? That's how you knew their gender? I don't know actually how I knew their gender. There was just something about the one that was trying to cajole me to get me to her ship, mm-hmm. that she seemed female to me. And at first, when she told me her name, it was Moma. I thought, is this a manipulation? Is this a play on words like MoMA and Mama? I don't know. That's what I was thinking. So I'm not sure. But the other one seemed like he was very used to being in charge, and he was striding into the room and, was not conversing, just smacked me. And then it really hurt, and then I fell asleep. So it was like something, maybe he hit some other implant that was supposed to knock me out. I don't know. It's just, these are strange experiences.
Well, at least you had choice. Well, at least for the first one.
Yeah. I wondered why she gave me that choice. And maybe she was a good guy, but at that point I was really new, and I didn't want to, I was into my medium, and she was saying, you gotta get rid of your contracts, your soul contracts, so don't ever get on a ship. So I have that in the back of my mind. It's like, no, I'm not getting on a ship. I'm not agreeing to anything, kind of thing. So
okay. So when did the Greys come into the picture?
I saw them infrequently, but I would just see their shadows. So I don't really know what it was. I once saw like this head, and it was just a head, like I was on my bed, and then it rolled off and then disappeared. So that's about it. I hardly ever saw grays. Actually, I almost always saw spiders and other mantis, and also like beetles that were standing on two legs, and also, you know, weird creatures that kind of they look like flies, because they had wings, but their faces had Aboriginal kind of paint on their face.
Oh.
And I don't know what those are, but
How tall were they?
those weren't very tall. I would say they're about 5 feet tall.
So yeah, so a former insectoid, not
Yeah.
mantid, but yeah.
Yeah, so
That's a first. Okay. So who, because you sent me a lot of photos about bruises and needle marks.
right.
What were the beings that gave you that?
I have no idea. I would wake up and I would just have these weird marks, and you know, I'd take a picture. You know, early on, I didn't take a picture because I had no idea I'd write a book, and I didn't think I needed it. And I kept thinking that I can get rid of this. I can get rid of this. You know, I don't need these photos. But then I finally realized this isn't going away. I need these photos. So I started photographing things. But there are things I wish I'd photographed, like the 6 fingers, because I have one that looked like somebody grabbed me and they had 6 fingers and a thumb mark, but I didn't take that photo. So yeah, I just started getting a lot of syringe marks, and they, you know, they were just, and also marks that, like, you have it, I'm sure, the one with JP or SP, that looked like somebody physically went and made these dots to make kind of like a brand. I mean,
well, there's one that looks like a triangle, which is
yeah.
clearly an instrument.
Yes, there's one that looks kind of like a Y, and then I have the ones that look like squares. I mean, people talked about these squares, and I realized that they were actually like stun gun marks because they were prongs, and they actually looked like 2 stun gun marks. Because in the very beginning, I started realizing that some of these marks kind of look like spider bites. Because, you know, when spiders bite you, you have 2 marks on your wherever you got bit. But some of these were close together, and then some of them were farther apart, and then farther apart. And I finally realized, I bet this is from a stun gun or a cattle prod, because they would leave those marks too. And so I finally decided that's what it was, because they were all over. I mean, it was like they were having a field day, you know, hitting me with the stun gun. And I thought, well, maybe they're trying to keep me asleep. I don't know.
So but these weren't all located on your leg? They were
all over, mostly
over?
On my chest, on my arms, and on my back.
Okay. Now I'm asking myself, could these be a sort of military follow-up from the fact that you were being perhaps taken with by ETs? You know, the military do tend to be curious after that.
Yeah. I do believe I have been, because I was reading My Labs, which was by the Lammers, Lammer, and they wrote a book called My Labs. And they were saying that people who, you know, go on these, get stuck, taken by the military, what they end up with weird injuries, and also probably syringe marks, but also, and this was what really made me wonder, was they can't have, they're made to drink something or eat something. And so I kept finding plaque on one side of my mouth, but only on the top. And I wear a night guard because I grind my teeth, and these things, I would find plaque. I brush my teeth at night, I put on my night guard, I go to bed, and the next day, without doing anything, I would wake up, I'd have plaque on my teeth. So, you know, where does that come from? You know, so I had no idea, but that's what I thought. And you know, I just have these strange bruises of people holding me really tightly. And so that's why I thought maybe it was my lab, but I have no idea. But I would see, you know, faces and people, you know, there was one time I saw hairy arms, and that's all I saw, and it looked like a caulking gun right up against my butt.
Okay.
And so stuff like that, you're like, well, these are people. And it makes sense because they would do the syringe versus whatever the ETs, if they can smack you with a spoon or a tuning fork and make you, or point at you and make you go to sleep, why would they need a syringe? So for a while, I was really going back and forth trying to figure out what is exactly happening. And especially when you have two different, if you have ETs and also people, there's going to change how you look at things, right? And it'll be confusing for a while because you just have no idea what really is happening. And to be able to separate out who's who, it's tough.
Now, I've interviewed a few that have had myolabs in the past, and I think the subject of having to drink something came up a few times. So I'm wondering if they gave that to sort of put you in an altered state, and the syringe might have been something to help you wipe your memory clean.
Maybe. That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Do you recall ever being in a dentist chair?
No, I don't.
That's a theme that comes back, back a lot regarding those that had myolab. Okay.
But I did have, I would find that I would wake up with my night guard in my hand and not in my mouth very, very many times. And then I would also have, not dreams, but they were kind of like when you're half asleep and half awake, like you were talking about earlier, where you remember that your teeth had fallen out. And that's what kept happening was I would have this big memory of my teeth falling out and somebody painting my teeth with some kind of purple liquid. And purple was very important. A lot of times I would have dreams where I would be in a chair of some type, not dentist, where I would have this purple liquid going into my arms. So I think that is some sort of drug, but whether or not who was doing it, I don't know.
So I don't recall the Greys or any ETs you use drugs. They've got their own technology to
right,
memory and whatnot. But
yeah, and I'm allergic to many drugs, so I wonder if it's because they overused them to the point that I became allergic.
Oh, it could be. Now, regarding your eggs, do you know if they ever used them to, in the hybrid program?
I believe, this is my opinion, well, it's kind of a weird story, but so when I lived in California for over 30 years. So I moved to Arizona 10 years ago. And when I was in California, every month, at least 4 times a month, for the whole time I lived there, people would come up to me and say, hey, you know what? You look exactly like my cousin's brother's wife. I mean, stuff like that, you know what I mean? That kind of weird stuff. And that happened every month for like 30 years, 4 times a month or so. And so my opinion that they were clones. I think that's what they did. But I moved to Arizona, never happens. That never happens to me. And it's weird, I mean, it's just one of those weird things, but why would I get that all the time? Why would I look like so many people only in California, but now that I'm in Arizona, I don't look like anybody. So that's my opinion.
Now, since you live in the States, a lot of the abductees, contactees do have like black helicopters over their house. Yeah. Did you have that?
Yes, I did. Actually, for a while, every 6th or 7th of the month, I would have, and I don't know if they were black, I would have helicopters over my house and also these low-flying planes. And it would happen even if I wasn't at home. If I was in Tahoe, I would hear those where there weren't. Because somebody said, well, they were probably doing something with the power lines. Well, maybe, but why would it follow me? I mean, are they all on the same schedule? I mean, I don't know. So that's what I believe, but I never went outside. One thing I noticed that when I did go outside when it was daylight was I couldn't see anything, like as if it was cloaked, or maybe they just had that noise so that you thought it was a helicopter. I wasn't really sure, and so I gave up trying to see them. You know,
Have you ever seen UFOs up close?
no.
No.
Have you?
Yeah, well, the two of them that we spoke of prior to the interview.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I call them. Well, yeah, I did a C5. So those who do C5s, you do get stuff. Not every time, but the first time was with the British abductee. That it came just a orange red. I call it orange lollipop. Like it might have been around 10 feet long, but like oval shaped, egg shaped in between. And it came just above the power lines, maybe 30 feet above the power lines, at an angle just to be sure that we saw it.
Wow.
And it glided, no sound whatsoever. And everybody was outside. This was mid-August of 2013. And
Wow.
nobody saw it. Children were outside playing, and we were the only ones who saw it.
Wow.
So they can manipulate you, and it just flew ever so slightly. And like I said, when you saw the mantid, you were in awe. Well, I was in awe.
Yeah.
People ask me, why didn't you take a picture? Like, first of all, I wasn't expecting anything. Second of all, that was the first time me doing SC5 ever.
Yeah.
Right prior, I realized that satellites moved in orbit. I had no idea satellites moved. I knew nothing. I was new to this. So the second time in, I do a C5, I see a UFO up close. Oh my God, does this happen every day?
Yeah.
So the week later, I'm at my folks' house, 45 minutes away. They've got a house in the woods by the lake. And I do a C5, 45 minutes in, an hour, no, yeah, mostly an hour. And as soon as I go inside to take to not take a leak, but to talk with my folks, I thought nothing was going to happen. And so as soon as I go outside, as soon as I step off the front porch, I get the feeling to look up, and just above the tree line,
wow,
the same craft comes flying in.
Wow. And, aren't you worried about C5 bringing in negative ETs?
Well, nothing bad happened.
But
nothing bad. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I had a lot of contact. Things that flashes in the sky that would stay with me for like 10 minutes, and one like few minutes in one place, then it would appear somewhere else. Like if it were a plane, you'd see the constant moving of red, green, red, white, whatever.
Right.
One time I was invited with her at a C5. A man that worked with David Jacobs was there, a researcher, a police officer, and like a couple. And we did a C5, and nothing happened. And at 11:11, the guy's house was on a hill, so we could see the horizon. So the lights, the sun was going down. But at 11:11, a white light appeared on the horizon, and within a minute. Now this was really far away. Within a minute, it was over the house already, and we could hear afterburners. But the light, what we were seeing was three white dots making a triangle, and within that triangle was a huge red light.
Wow.
So that was because we were hearing afterburners, we thought it could have been a TR-3B flying overhead, spying on us, but it looked like a triangle UFO.
Wow. Yeah, I have fascination with triangles too. I mean, I would look up at the sky and see triangles only. So that's kind of funny. So yeah, I also made a copper pyramid to meditate under, and you should try that because it really is sort of like a funnel of information. So
yeah, I go to UFO conferences, and there'd be always one set up. I went to Laughlin. That's right, in Laughlin, to my that was the first time in that part of the area of the state. And my first time myself, flying down to the U.S., and there was one there. So there was a chair in it, so you could sit down and meditate.
Yeah. I think I know those people. They're Arcturians, and one is a hybrid. Did you meet her? I can't remember her name, but anyway.
Okay. So what happened after the? So what did you do to make these instances stop?
Well, I just started using the tools inside of my book, actually. What happened was initially I really got into healing. I tried to get my I started going to the medium, and I started working toward becoming a medium that does it for a business. But I found that I just really wasn't not into it, but I was really into it and motivated. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but this happens to me all the time. So you have this feeling, oh, I'm going to be a medium. I'm going to be a medium. So that feeling is there for a little while. And then you start to get the feeling that, well, maybe you'll be a medium, but there might be a fork in the road. And if there is, you can go in another direction. And so all my life, actually, whenever I'm in a situation where either the person's going to die or there's going to be a huge change, I'll get this feeling like you better take a picture with that person because you'll regret it if you don't. And so I always listen to that voice, the same when it's time to end a relationship or it's time to end a job and go look for another one. I always know right before. So I started feeling that mediumship was not really for me, that I was going to actually, this was a good experience because I was gaining things, but this isn't where I was going to end up. So once I found out about the ETs, I really, I'd already decided that mediumship wasn't for me. And instead, I really wanted to get rid of these ETs. So I asked my medium, what do I do to get rid of these things? And she was giving me all kinds of advice about getting rid of soul contracts, breaking soul contracts, and changing Akashic records, and being going through healings, and showering with salt crystals, and putting salt everywhere, and and then always clearing my house and using either holy water or smelly other smells, and I am sorry, and I am allergic to so many things. After a while, I felt like I was getting more and more sensitive to smells, and I couldn't deal with smells anymore. So I started using a bowl or sometimes holy water to clear my house. But none of that stuff worked, and I was getting really frustrated. I was scouring the web for techniques of how other people got rid of them, and so what happened finally is that we tried everything. Then I really got into healing. So I got into this healing modality called Lao Chi, and it's on the website. It's in my book, and I really got into it. I healed people, I healed myself. And the reason I needed that was because I needed to know about this guy. I don't know if you can see that, but yep. Stuart Swerdlow wrote this book, Healing Archetypes and Symbols. And so I first got it because I'm all in when I get into healing. So I was into healing. I bought a lot of books on Amazon, and I saw this book, and it called to me. So I bought it. And then I tried to use it for my healing practice, and it just didn't work for me. And I just couldn't really understand it. Because if you read this book, it's quite esoteric, or it wasn't for me at the time. And so I really didn't understand how I could put that into my healing practice. And it's because I couldn't. I needed it for something else. So about a year later, I kept thinking, I was asking my spirit guides, what can I do about these ETs? I really need help. I really need guidance. And they told me, go back to this book. If you go back to this book, all will be taken care of. And so at that point, I looked at it and maybe a little differently, felt like I could understand it, felt like I could utilize it. So that's what happened. I realized that I had this stuff all along. I also bought this book, The Hyperspace Helper by Stuart Swerdlow. And he didn't make it for UFOs, but he just made it for, I don't know why he made it, but I started using inside of there a exercise called the Green Spiral Staircase. And what I realized, because all this time I was trying to figure out, how did they wipe our memories? How do we have access to our memories before the wipe? What should we do? But then I read this book by Whitley Strieber called Communion. And in it, it had this great information where it said the the dreams that you have are actually screen memories. And whatever is behind that is actually what happened. Your body, your brain makes these screen memories so that you can handle what trauma you've had. So I realized that when I have a dream about stress, let's say, you know, I'm in this class and I don't remember, I thought I dropped it, but now it's the final and here I am, I haven't dropped this class, and, you know, you feel stress. I realized that that meant something happened to me. But that was my body's way of telling me that something happened to me, but it still needed to access the memory or what it really happened. And so I started using this green spiral staircase as an experiment to see if I could see behind what the screen memory was. And I could. And so actually I wrote about it in the back of my book, or not the complete back, but I put my journal in there so that you can read along and see day to day how I did things. I write down my dreams, I write down my remote view of them. I call it remote view, but it's not truly remote viewing. But what it is it's you're remote viewing your own mind. You're inside your mind and you're looking at it from a point of saying, here's my screen memory, what's behind that? And then it shows you a little scene, you write it down, and then, you know, when you write it down, you eventually get the puzzle pieces back together. Once you're in behind your memory, you go back to the hyperspace helper, healing archetypes and symbols, and you use a tool called the Brown X. And Brown X is one of Stuart's symbols, and it talks about Brown Xing out all unnecessary negativity in your life. And so when you're doing that, you are trying to get rid of these things that are doing things to you that you don't know about. Now you do, Brown X them all. So over time, it does take a little bit of time, and you have to be a detective. One of the things that is really, really important is, you know, when these things are happening to you, I realized early on that I needed to write everything down, because your dreams, they just disappear. I mean, once you wake up enough to realize you had a dream, it might be gone. So I kept a notebook by my bed. And a lot of people think, well, I don't know much, but you actually do. All these things that happen to you before the abduction occurs, write those down. Now for me, they would, what I called sleep darts, they would hit me with a sleep dart in my arm, and then I'd fall asleep. So I started noticing these things and being a detective of my own life. So when I would get the sleep dart, I knew I was going to fall asleep soon. Now I also knew that if I fought it, I would not sleep for many, many, many hours. So, you know, some people go, well, I'll stay up all night. Well, I stayed up all night, but I'm not 20 anymore, so I can't do that. You know, you cannot function. I mean, if you're over 20, you cannot function not sleeping at night. And so I started writing everything down and looking at them as my guinea pig, because they're studying us, they're watching us, they know what we're doing, they know what we're, you know, gonna do. They've been doing this for many years. So what you need to do is write everything down. You recognize. One of the things I recognized right away was that my clothes had a funny smell whenever I was abducted. And it took me an absurdly long time, but in hindsight, you know, that's in hindsight. But while you're doing it, it's just really, you know, you have time in between. So what happened was I would notice that my clothes had this funky smell. It was sort of like BO and feet. And when then I thought, well, this is weird. So, you know, I had excuses for it. Well, it might maybe that I don't have enough laundry detergent. So I tried that for a little while and that seemed to work. And then, well, maybe it's because my cat boxes, because I have 2 cats, are actually in the laundry room. And, you know, on. And finally, I put 2 and 2 together that it was because I had left. And so, you know, that might be sort of scary, but if you think about it in terms of, well, I now know this is proof to me that I'm actually leaving. What else can I learn before I go? And so if you use these tools that I found from Stuart Swerdlow, you can then piece together everything that was happening to you and then Brown X out all of the stuff. and then try to keep records of it. So that's what I did, and it really worked for me. And I went from being abducted 4 times a night, every night, to once a week. So it does really work. It's just that you have to put in the time and, or, put in the work for it, and just don't give up. It's going to take some time. It's going to, you'll just have to put in some effort, and it's hard and it's confusing, and, but you can do it. Anybody can do it. And just, in my book, I put, my, like a roadmap of what I did and how I did it. And I did that so that you can either just buy your own books and do it yourself, put in the time and make up your own way of doing it, or you can follow along with me. You don't have to put that much effort into creating a system. That's all I did. So,
did you? A lot of abductees, they tend to use the word Jesus when they see an ET. Did you pray, or did you, call in
all that.
the heavens? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I did. I prayed. I respectfully demanded that my archangels help me. I told them that I had the right to free will. I had my sovereignty. I tried all of that stuff. And I just realized, my husband called it my manifesto, actually. I tried everything I could because I felt like I had nothing to lose. And this is what I say to you guys, you have nothing to lose by trying this. My Kindle book is only $3.99. I mean, so, I tried everything, and it didn't work for me. The soul contracts didn't work for me. And if you should try it. Just try it. You never know. But, I needed something that actually worked. So this is what I found, and I hope it works for you too.
Were you aware of like waking up in the morning with these weird blood drops on your pillow that might have come from your nose, an implant?
No, but I have had weird nose things. I realized or maybe last week, that one of my nostrils used to have this weird, like, it was like a piece of skin that was like smacked on somewhere in the inside of my nose. And it's really strange because it just appeared one day, and now it seems like it's gone. And it's sort of like not a scab, but it's like a fleshy, hard area on the inside of my nose. So no, I haven't had that.
Oh, they tend to use let's say an implant, but for the body not to reject it, they use some of your skin to encapsulate.
Oh.
And that's how it gets not being rejected from the body.
Oh, interesting. You say that because I don't know how long ago this was, because I didn't write it in my book. I'd probably forgotten about it, but I was at a hotel, and I noticed that I had this ingrown hair on my thigh. So I pulled out this ingrown hair. There was a hole underneath, and I felt this little, I don't know, I called it a flesh marble rolling around underneath my skin. So I squoze, and I finally got it out, and that's what it was. It was a flesh marble. Now, I didn't have a knife or anything, so I didn't, and I didn't think that far ahead clearly. But the thing just slowly shrunk down. I mean, it was like it died because it wasn't under my skin. And it was just strange. So I didn't realize that it had to live in my skin in order to stay alive. So isn't that strange?
Yeah. I've gone through open heart surgery in 2016, and I cried to the universe. I didn't want to go through this. Like getting your chest ripped open wasn't really a good thing to look forward to. And so I tried to break my contract. I did everything, and it really didn't work out for me. I still had to go through it. And but I don't know. It's strange that as soon as because of that, a lot of my experiences started to die down. So that, but my experiences weren't negative. So they were actually a lot very positive because all the things I went through. To the months going up to the open heart surgery, I wasn't really afraid of death.
Right.
And so I knew there was, things that were out there looking after me because I won't get into details, but there's like I believe now in angel guides and angel guards or like ETs watching over us and stuff like that. But plus
Oh,
with all the interviews I've done, a lot of people had really positive
right.
like experiences regarding the ETs that they're being watched over and protected. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think I am to a degree, but interesting. All you're trying to do is get out of a, painful surgery, and they won't allow you to. I mean, why didn't they heal you?
yeah.
Is my question.
Well, one time, maybe like many months before that, I started having pains right beneath the sternum, and I thought I was maybe like sitting down improperly on the sofa, and something like a muscle might have jammed. But it started to get repetitive, and what I found out later, well, after that, that I had gallstones,
Oh, wow.
and because I was eating something fatty, the pressure because of with the because the gallbladder wanted to break down the fats, and I had huge pains. And but one time I called out to the universe, and during that night, all I'm seeing was the face of a gray. I felt female energy from her. I felt motherly love.
Okay.
So in my mind, but I'm seeing her as flashes, like going to a party and you got strobe lights and everything's flashing. So one time you see this, somebody dancing, the other you're not, then it's flashing. So I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing her hand, like a gray hand with like three fingers and a thumb over my chest, like scanning me. That's all I see. But again, they didn't heal me. I did get, they did remove my my gallbladder, but so that was a pretty interesting event, though.
Yeah, but did you talk to them and find out why they didn't heal you?
No.
Because that's what I think is so frustrating about, the whole thing, is that they're doing things to you that you don't know what it is. They won't heal you, because I've asked for healing for my eye multiple times. And because I had eye surgery, and my eye is actually fine. I mean, underneath there, but the drops I have to put in actually irritate my eyelid, and so it always looks like I have a little eye and a big eye, but it's just actually that my eyelid is swollen.
Okay.
So I've asked for healing multiple times, and they never do. Then they wipe our memory. Now, to me, that feels like it's sort of like some sort of it's a negative thing, because why would they not let us know their agenda? Yeah. I mean, so if it's really good, then let us share in that, but they don't. They're trying to hide something from my perspective. So I don't really understand their issue, except that obviously they have an agenda and they're not willing to tell me what it is.
Like kind of looking at that from a human point of view, I see that as a bit hypocritical, because but on the other side, okay, do we have really a soul contract? Are they allowed to interfere to an extent? Are they allowed to heal us? But again, there's healing in certain humans, but in others they're not.
Right.
Chris Bledsoe had his Crohn's disease healed, and other people. So again, are they allowed to intervene? Are there certain levels of intervention?
Yeah, I believe that's an agenda. I mean, I think it's just one-sided. Actually, in my book, I talk about how I feel like they are really narcissists. And because narcissists have an agenda, it's all about them. Yeah. And so if you have, so this benefits them in some way, and it benefits them that you don't know what it is. So that's how I see them. I see them as doing everything for themselves, and they don't want us to know, because that wouldn't help them. Maybe it would hurt them. So that's how I see them. I see them as extremely negative beings who want to use us for whatever they need. And maybe those other people are actually have different beings. I mean, maybe the ones that are taking you and I, or I don't know, are just extremely negative. And then there's other ones that are extremely positive, and maybe it's the luck of the draw, about who you get. But I'm starting to, I still don't feel that they're positive. I mean, to have to go to these lengths to get rid of them, and also to try everything under the sun, and they know that you don't want it, and they still do it. To me, that's the height of evil.
Now, this is an idea I'm throwing out. Let's say you were healed, and the military found out. Now, would you be in trouble? So, the fact that they knew perhaps that your eye would have been taken care of with human technology,
right?
So you're not really in trouble. But if you had a lot of like good contacts with ETs, you might have been more harassed. So I'm not sure if that could be the reason.
I see your point, but I mean, if they could do that, why not heal everyone? I mean, that way it would be hard for the military to, single one person out. Why,
True.
Why pick and choose who gets healed?
Yeah. But you do have a life. You've got free will. It's yours.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. So we have free will, except when it inconveniences them. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're all evil, but the ones that are bothering me are definitely evil. So, I haven't changed my opinion. I'm glad they're gone. I'm glad I'm not getting taken all the time, and I'm glad that I've been successful. So,
well, if I'd wake up with those needle marks, I'd be pissed too.
Yeah, yeah,
Very.
yeah.
So, have you been? Like you said that the abductions started to slow down. So, like in the past few months,
slowly over time.
Okay.
So I just, somebody asked me in another interview, well, how often are you getting abducted now? And then I realized, oh yeah, it's really fallen off. But my fighting is still going on. So, I don't use the books as much anymore. I use the techniques because I don't need the books anymore. I've, figured out what I need, and I utilize that. And now I can do the green spiral staircase in my mind. I don't need to read it or anything. So I still do that regularly. I look at my dreams. A lot of times I look at them while I'm still in bed. I don't write them down right away. I do the remote view of my mind while I'm laying down after I remember my dreams. And then I, remember, because after you do it a lot, what happens is you remember everything a lot better. But secondly, you become desensitized to what you see. Now your mind, one of the things it does with the green spiral staircase is it's showing you the gist of what happened to you. It's not showing you the screaming or whatever, it doesn't show you the details, but it shows you what you need to know. So I utilize that quite a lot and just write down what I need to know and see how it fits in with my structure of what I think's going on. And then as a bonus, once you do that quite a few times, information will start popping into your mind, and you'll realize, oh, that's something I needed to know, and oh my gosh, now I understand this. As I was telling you before the show, I actually read my book regularly because I'm not there anymore. I'm not there where I was in my book. And so I've noticed that I'll say, oh my gosh, I know what that is. I know what this is. This makes more sense to me. So that's one of the good things about it. Once you go through all your dreams and look behind them, things start popping out at you. Information starts popping out at you. So I think it's a real benefit, especially of people who want to know answers, or, they feel lost, they feel scared, they feel isolated, because who can you talk to these things about? And so you have to, do something to make it happen for yourself, because unfortunately nobody's going to run in and save us from this. We have to do it ourselves.
I think it's important to write everything down. The smallest of details might not be important now, but a few years later, you might figure something out. I had this. I think this was in 2012. I used to meditate a lot. We thought, the end of the world was coming.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I survived 212.
Yeah.
So yeah, I meditated a lot, and so I go to bed. Then I fall asleep, of course. Then I realize I'm on the floor, but I'm in a very long corridor. Everything was white, perfect white. Okay, and on both sides of the walls, on this super long corridor, all I'm seeing is doors, but very close together. Reminded me a bit of an asylum, but multiple doors going right down, that direction. And I look up and I'm seeing this gray wearing a doctor's lab coat in front of me.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, this is probably a dream. Okay. But so I look up and I extend my hand for him to help me up. So I get up. Then I realize he's probably 6 feet tall because I'm like eye to eye with him.
Wow.
And so I don't see a nose. I see the small slit of a mouth, like normal gray eyes. And so there's nothing on top of his head, but at the back of his head, what I'm seeing is what I called Einstein type of hair. Very spiky, wavy, unkept, dense. But I couldn't put a word to describe what I was seeing for the hair. So the word Einstein hair kept with me. And so one time I go on Misha Johnson's radio show and I start explaining what I'm seeing, and she starts laughing. So what she described regarding the hair of her hybrid children was cotton candy hair.
Wow.
And that's when my jaw dropped. That's what I was seeing, cotton candy hair. So very dense, unkept, like somebody that never used a comb in his life, dirty, something like that. Very spiky, dense. And that's exactly so. I thought, oh my God. So something, an event that I thought could have been put off as a dream.
Right.
Makes a lot more sense now because I was describing something I never saw but was seen by Misha.
I know, that's really cool when you get validated by somebody who you don't even know, who tells you about the experience that they had, and it meshes with yours. It's pretty wild.
So imagine, so you got like the physical type of events, and you got the astral, out of body type of events. So of course, when you wake up, you're in your bed, you think it's a dream.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. So yeah, where's the proof? But again.
Yeah, I know, and that's the worst thing is that everybody wants pictures or proof, and excuse me, and you don't have them because they're on your body, or all you have is, I said this in the book a couple of times. I felt my body lightly touch down. So, that happens, but there's no proof of it. I can't, I have actually seen some insides of ships, but I haven't seen a lot. And so I've seen, different beings. So I'll see, like these blue kind of energy, kind of glowing beings. And
energy beings, or
like energy beings, but they're bluish and they kind of glow a little bit. Wow. And then they have a ship that's mostly made out of windows, and they have some controls on the windows. So I've seen that. And like I said, I've seen spiders, and if you're afraid of spiders, you will, if you see them, eventually they won't bother you as much. But so I've been on the I guess the steel table or the shiny aluminum table. I've been on that. A lot of times I am in those long hallways that look like an asylum.
Really?
But they're brown, and mine are brown, and they have mint green, and they have doors that are half window and half regular door, and so they have different rooms. So I've mostly been in surgeries. Actually on my head, on my skull, I have indentations all over. Now, I don't know what those are from, but, my hair covers them, but, they are there.
Scoop marks? Divots?
No, just indentations.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to shave my head so I can show everyone. Maybe eventually I may do that, but maybe put some rhinestones in them, but so, and also a lot of things I've seen are actually underwater. So there'll be a surgery center underwater somewhere, and I kept seeing Antarctica. So I don't really know where these things are, but they're mint green. The surgery centers are all mint green, and the people are wearing white, with white masks. A lot of them aren't people, they're actually bugs. But then I'll see a classroom next door with sky blue. So one of the scenes I saw was little kids on a table getting their head drilled with a drill. That's what I think happened to me. And next door is the classroom. And so kids are waiting to have their head drilled to see, they're trying to see what the kid will do. You know, it's like a reaction. What will they do? How will they deal with this pain? And then the classroom is where they're showing you, I think, different things you can do now, you know, like mind games or mind things having to do with your mind. Like it's a combination of, you know, some sort of sadistic thing where there's kids having surgeries and having their head drilled, and then the next door is a classroom. So that's one of the strange things I've seen.
Do you know why? Was it to test their emotions, to learn, to?
I don't know what the reasonings are. I mean, I've read a lot of books. I read those monarchs. Have you heard of the Monarch group?
Yeah, Montauk Monarch.
Yeah. And actually, Stuart Swerdlow, who wrote these two books, he was a Montauk boy.
Okay.
So they were suggesting that, you know, maybe little kids who have their head drilled are actually dissociated. They're dissociating so that they can escape the pain, and then they're able to be made into multiple personality kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't really feel like I'm that, but that's a memory or something that I remember. So it's hard to know. I mean, there's so much information. It's so confusing. And you don't know if it's disinformation, if it's real information. I'm not saying that people who are one aren't. It's not real. It is. But trying to figure out where you fit in can be difficult. One of the times that I woke up, I said, you know, I looked around and said, where am I and who am I? I actually said that. And then I said, oh, yeah, I'm Lisa of Lisa and Bob, as if that was my personality. Isn't that strange? So, you know, there were times when, you know, I thought I was alone. And actually in 2009, I had two really strange dreams that is not in the book. But one was that, you know, my husband had died, and I had gone to the mailbox, and I was saying, oh my gosh, if only I'd learned QuickBooks, well, I would be somewhere, you know, I wouldn't be here. Why didn't I learn it? So I was really scared. That really scared me. So I told Bob about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to learn QuickBooks. I got to learn it as quickly as possible, you know, because it felt so real. I mean, it was scary, and I felt like I woke up in my bedroom and he wasn't there, and I knew he was gone. So then, you know, that wears off. And then 6 months later, I have a dream that was similar. I was going to the mailbox, and I was saying, oh my gosh, I had that other dream that warned me that Bob was going to die, and I didn't listen to it, and I didn't learn QuickBooks. Why didn't I learn QuickBooks? Yeah, after that I did. I learned it. Because, you know, I mean, to reference a dream that you had in a dream, I mean,
yeah,
it's just creepy. So I don't know. So like I said, I could be a monarch, but I don't know.
Okay. So, okay. So anything of like importance that happened to you recently? So I know you did say that, you know, things died down a bit, but
yeah.
Ever had like paranormal stuff in your house? Things moving?
Yes. Actually, not things moving, but I hear noises. And actually, one of the things that really recently happened, when I was really upset about, and this is not so much paranormal, it's just strange, which you can't even explain it. Well, I was having trouble with things moving around in my house. Now, some things were disappearing completely. I would find sand in my car. You know, I live in the desert, but I don't live where there's sand. You know, I just don't live, you know. And so, like I said, I drive a stick shift. So, you know, on the little drape, that, you know, stuff that's on the stick, there was sand in there. Had not driven anywhere that had sand, you know. I would have, you know, well, I had to wear masks. So I had to have a mask. I left it in my car, and it was gone the next day. And I couldn't find it anywhere. And so I got another one. I kept that in my car. Then one day, the one that had disappeared was back. The one that I put in to replace it was gone. It's like, really?
What?
You have to steal my masks. But the worst thing that happened was I woke up, well, that couple of days prior, I wasn't feeling very well. And so I hadn't eaten anything. So that night I felt really sick to my stomach, and I just decided to go to bed because I just didn't feel well. Well, that night I woke up suddenly and realized I had to throw up. And I thought, well, I don't have anything in my stomach. Why could I possibly throw up? Well, what came out was like wine, which I hadn't had any wine, and some other stuff, like bread stuff, like marinara or something. And I was so upset that I got food. It felt like food poisoning because, you know what food poisoning's like. Mm-hmm. So I was having the symptoms of food poisoning when I hadn't had anything to eat for a couple of days. And that was really disturbing. So I asked my husband, how would this happen? How would, did I get taken somewhere and they made me eat something and then I got getting sick, or what? Did they take me from one timeline where I moved, and I had food because I felt okay, mm-hmm. and then I came back here? I mean, I don't know. That's just strange. What have you had recently?
Sorry?
What have you had done recently to you?
Oh, the last time was the possible abduction in 2018 with my girlfriend. The one that we talked about earlier on.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much for coming on. I had loads of fun tonight.
I did too. This was really cool. And one thing I've noticed is that anytime I'm on these shows is that these are my people. I've been looking for you. And all the people on podcasts are my people. They're all people that had experiences just like me.
Yeah.
And even though they're not identical, just to know that there are people out there who have had these kinds of experiences, mm-hmm. That's who I'm trying to reach with my book. Those people that feel like us and feel like they're all alone, that they're isolated. And they're not. We're here, and I wanted to meet as many as I could and help as many people as I could. So that's why I wrote this book. Mm. So thank you so much for allowing me on.
Thank you, and thanks for this awesome experience tonight. And to those who had the pleasure of watching tonight's show, hope you enjoyed it. More interviews coming up, and I'll see you guys next time. So take care, everyone.
Bye.
Hello everyone, this is Mr. Gray, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomenon, and the future, remember, truth will out.